Okay, so now here in the app.js you can see this some default code they have written. So let me explain this. Okay, so here if you go to the bottom you can see this onload function. Like, so when the window has been loaded, so the first thing that is going to happen is this thing will be called app.init. Okay, so this app is nothing but it's like a variable which you have defined over here. So you have given a variable like app, so which is equals to, in that we have written all they have written all these functions, right? So in this thing what you are doing is, so you are making use of that object or the variable which you have, it is app. So inside of it you have this function called as init. So that thing you're calling whenever the window has been loaded, so that is at the beginning, so this thing is being called. So app.init. So now let's go to the init part. So here you can see you have this init, right? And in that they have defined this get.json, pet.json. So if you remember previously we have got like the images of the dog and all those things, right? So that those things are basically present in this pets.json file. So here you can see you are having the images, its id, name, and all those things. So this was happening whenever your page was loaded and this thing was getting displayed. So currently now we don't need this, so that's why what I'll do is I'll just remove this part. Then okay, so here, so whenever this initialization happens, so we don't have any data in the beginning, right? So we need not do the get JSON and all those things here over here. So what we want is, in order to interact with the blockchain, so the first thing that we want is a web3. So we need to create the web3 over here. We need to make use of the web3, and then we need to pass in our contract to that. So now let's see how we can do that first. In here, so first of all what you can do is, let me remove this, and in outside what I'll do is I'll define a variable called as my web3. So this will be the thing which I will declare over here. So in the init, what I can do is, so if you go to this index, we will have this web3 which is over here, so they have given. So in this, if you format it, so this is nothing but a huge functions, which I mean there are a lot of functions or a lot of utilities that you can use in order to interact with the blockchain. So let's do that. So in order to use that over here, so first you need to create an uh, instance of that using okay, so here I'll take my web3. I'll just type it over here, then I'll try to explain. So here I need to do this. Okay, so here in our browser, so we are using this MetaMask. So MetaMask will provide, so in this case MetaMask will provide us the web3. So that is, it's injecting the web3 in our browser, right? So in our case web3 will be provided by this. So that's why my web3, that is the new variable which I have created, will be using the web3 which has been provided by the MetaMask. So that's why in order to use that thing, so we are having here a constructor or a function called as new web3. So inside this thing, so this web3 is basically present in the web3.min.js over here. So inside this, so it will take the we need to specify which web3 instance are we using. So here in our case we are using the MetaMask instance. So that's why in order to get that, so here again you have to type in a small web3 over here, and then inside this you need to give something like current provider, right? So yeah, so this web3 comes from the over here. Then so current provider, you are specifying that I want to use the MetaMask instance of the web3. and that thing you are assigning it to your local variable which you have created over here. So now let's just see console log it how my web3 looks. Okay, so open the console. So here you can see you have got at the 10th line you have got this thing. So this is nothing but your instance of the web3. So now here you can see there is this lot of things like db. I mean you'll be using with this it. Here you can see there are accounts, and then so if you open this, so here you can see there is this id. So the last number is 3a4e. So that's nothing but, so if you go here, so okay, so if you go to the metamask, so here you can see the last digit, that is 3a4e. So that means this, so this wallet is basically connected to this browser. So that's why it's been providing that address over here, this account's address. So something like that. And then so a lot of utility functions are over here, so we can use it later. So let's see how we can use that. Right, so that's basically about the first step that we are doing. So in the init, this is the web3 which is the constructor which is there. So inside this it will take the which instance of web3 we want to use. So metamask is providing us the web3 in this case, so we are telling it web3.current provider. Then so that thing is assigned to our local variable, that is my web3, and we are just printing it out here. Right, so next it is returning await app.init web3. So basically again it will be calling this function over here. So what I can do over here is, so I'll just remove this thing. Okay, so instead of initializing the web3, so I have done it over here. So that's why instead of this I'll just in the next step I'll just initialize, or I'll call this init contract function, right? So in the init contract we have to initialize the contract which we are having. So this is similar to what we had did in our console. So there we had done something like get the instance and all this, right? So we have done something like this, students don't deployed, we are getting an instance. So similar to that, we need to do it over here also in the init contract. So here in the init contract, so we are actually initializing the contracts if you want. So what I'll do is, first of all I will declare a variable called as my contract, and that thing I will populate it now, right? So in here what we want to do is, so here if you go to migration, so if you go to this build, so here you have this JSON file, right? So which was containing all the ABI, and so if I go down here, ABI, and in the network you can see there is this address. This address is nothing but your contracts address which is there in the blockchain. So now internally what it will do is, so it will make use of the ABI, and it will make use of this address in order to identify the where the bytecode is actually present on the blockchain, right? So that's what we are doing over here. So now this truffle has been, the truffle will provide you a easier method so of finding that ABI and combining that ABI with the address, and initializing the methods, right? So that thing will be handled by truffle over here. So in order to do that, so what you need to do is, you need to read this JSON file, student.json file. So in order to read that JSON, so we are having this method called is get JSON, which is provided by this jQuery. So inside this I'll pass in the students.json file, right? So now it will read this. So after reading this, then so this is the arrow function, right? So this is the parenthesis, so this is the arrow, and in this flower bracket you are writing whatever logic you have, right? So it reads something, so that thing will be returned to this function. So that's why here I need a variable in order to cache that. So I'll make use of this val over here, and then I'll just log this thing, log the val over here. So I'll give it as init. So now let's see like how it looks. So return await uploaded and it will return this. Okay. So if I go over here and in this you can see there is this init, so which I declared down, and if you open this you can see there is all these things, so which is basically presenting that file only. It is in more readable form. So you can see the network. So in this network you can see there is the address of the smart contract, and in this ABI you can see there is event, that is student added, then you have add student method, and then you have get student method, right? So all these things are basically here. So now we have read the file, read the JSON file. Then what I'll do over here is, so basically I have this my contract, so this thing I need to populate. So in order to do that, so now I got the val, right? So here what I'll do is, so I have something called as truffle contract. Okay, so inside this it will take in the entire JSON file, right? So in this JSON file, internally what it will take is, it will only take the API, and it will take the address of the contract, like where it is actually deployed. So here you have done this truffle contract.val. So then it will return you a reference, so which you can just store it in your variable which you have declared. So that is my contract, contract, right? So this thing has been defined over here. So now we have got the reference to our contract. So if I want to just log this out, let us see how it looks. So you can see there is something like this. Okay, it's not much of a fuse, so let us just move with the next steps. Okay, so now we have got this thing, my contract. So for this you need to again set the provider to it. So that is our which web3 are you using. So you can do something like my contract dot set the provider, like who is providing the web3. So in our case it's again MetaMask, so that's why I'll use my web3 dot current provider, right? So now let's see. Contract. Okay, so it's again the same thing. Yes, let's just do some more things, right? So now what I have done is, so I have used this truffle contract in order to initialize this object, initialize the contract, and then I have set the provider to the current provider, that is MetaMask. Okay, so this much is done. That's in the init contract. Now, so now we have the contract. So now let's use the functions which are present over there. So now here you can see it returns app.bind event, so it's not needed. So and yeah, so here what you can do is you can just remove this bind event, also mark adopted, and then this handle adopt, and I'll also remove this. Okay, so this much has been done. Now we'll write the functions which we can actually use.